Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Wow. First of all, there's something. I'm in Little Ouseburn, which is west of York, northwest of York. I've been here quite a few times and I'm just going to do a regular ride. A regular easy ride while I test everything, because today is the first day that I've been out on my bike since October, believe it or not, and it's now the 2nd of February. Gosh. So not only am I testing me out to see how I'm faring, but in fitness, but I'm also testing out my new left shifter, which I haven't used yet, and all the winter stuff, the winter bike gear, the winter clothes, everything, and the camera. Hi there. So everything is being tested. Right, just testing, going onto the big chain ring with the new shifter. I can't believe I haven't been out on my bike for so long. Everything is covered in dust. Stuck a bit of lube on the chain to hopefully ease that in a bit. Yep, just testing the chain ring. I've got a lot of layers on with cold. It's about 6 degrees, not too cold. Starting from the bottom up, so to speak, I've got my winter cycling shoes, which are also waterproof. Shimano. Morning. I've got my winter cycling leggings on, bib ones. I've got a thermal vest, a merino long-sleeved base layer, and another long-sleeve base layer on top of that, and one of my winter cycling jerseys. 2 scarves, one's merino, which I put over my ears as well, and one is a Dare to Bear, which I haven't worn before. So, testing that. What else? Oh god, it feels a bit stiff, the shifter, but I suppose it would do after hanging around all winter. See how that goes. Oh, I forgot my socks. First time I wore them, I thought I'd try them out. I've got these micro neoprene sailing socks, which are supposed to keep your feet really warm without sweating. And then I've got some of those stick-on foot warmers, those disposable ones. And finally, a pair of merino socks. Gloves. It's the same make as the neoprene socks. They're called hot hands, and they're supposed to keep you nice and warm. If you're on sailing on a yacht, I don't know how they'll do. I've got a backpack with a whole range of other gloves and things, should I need them. I've got a winter mud guards on, front and back, winter tyres, Schwabe, which are a bit slower than the summer ones. So, quite well equipped. Oh, and I've got a flask of tea. We're coming up to the little toll bridge, little private toll bridge. They're talking about raising the prices because they really are cheap. Free for bicycles though. I think it's one of the only, if not the only, private toll bridges in the country. I might be wrong. I don't envy the bloke having to collect the tolls on a cold day. It goes over the... well, it's kind of where the Ouse joins the Yore, the River Yore. Morning. Well, it becomes the Yore. The Ouse becomes the Yore that way, and the Yore becomes Ouse as it goes into York. Here's the little bridge. It's not as rickety as it used to be because they refurbished it and virtually rebuilt it a couple of years back. Here we are crossing the river. Morning. Quite a few cyclists out. I bet they've been cycling all winter. Unlike me. Well, I had norovirus at the beginning of November. Then I went to Exmoor to do some walking, which I videoed. You can see my videos on this channel. Then the weather got bad. Then I got the first bout of hideous flu-like thing. It was a virus, it was horrible. Took ages to get over, coughing like mad. Then it was Christmas. And then shortly after Christmas I got another flu virus, which took ages to get over. And then the weather got bad and other things happened, which I'll talk about later. So, first time out on the bike, but I've been doing indoor cycling on the exercise bike. So far my feet are quite warm, fingers getting a bit chilly. It's always toes and fingers that suffer when it's cold. I have to see how I go with this shifter because it is very stiff on the moving up to the big chain ring. I had a complete new shifter and new cables in October because the other one broke, and I was just cycling up here in the other direction when it broke and it wouldn't shift. This is Aldborough village, which I've been through loads of times on my rides. As I said, this is an easy ride, great for sort of a recovery ride if you've been ill or whatever and you need to get back on your bike. It's only about 2 hours long. going to Boroughbridge. We'll be going through Myton on Swale, tiny village off the beaten track. Scene of the Battle of Myton on Swale in the 14th century, where the Scots gave the English a big kicking, unfortunately. Robert the Bruce. Oh, it's starting to get a bit chilly on the cheeks. Myton on Swale is also where Ken Morrison of Morrison Supermarkets lived, and in a manor house. This tiny little church, it's got to be 19th century. Pretty. Apologies if I am sniffing a lot, it's the cold. Cold makes your nose run. It's difficult to edit them out of the video. Well, the hands are getting a bit chilly, the fingers. These are called hot hands, and I'm not feeling the heat, to be honest. I've got cycling gloves, which I might change into in a moment. I was trying to find the thinnest, most effective gloves to wear in winter when you're cycling, and I thought these yachting gloves might do the trick, but not sure. A fire engine. No, it's not a fire engine. From being cold, it's a pretty perfect day for cycling. There's no wind, it's sunny, there's no ice, so hopefully, and no mud, it's not wet. A couple of years ago I went cycling in February in South Devon because I was going to a funeral in Cornwall. So I stayed in South Devon, took my bike, and I wish I'd videoed it because really nice rides, even though it was, apart from the first one when it pissed it down with rain the entire way. I got absolutely drenched. Never has a hot hotel bath been more appreciated afterwards. The second time I cycled on that route, or a similar route, it was lovely. Well, it's like this actually, but it was very muddy. I think I see mud coming up here from the farm. We've got daffodils coming up at home on the grass verge outside the house, and it's only well, it's not January now, but it was when they started to come up. Not sure daffodils should be out at this time of year. Snowdrops. Snowdrops. It's a sign of the awakening of the year. Gentle awakening. I bought an almanac that tells you about all the different things that happen as the seasons develop, including the lunar cycles. And they're really interesting. Even got a recipe of the month, a cake of the month that you can bake. The camera. January has been a pretty awful month, to be honest. Pretty awful month. It started with me deep into that horrible flu virus, feeling really crap. I was in bed for about 10 days. I don't know if you've been watching my recorder videos. They're on the same channel. I've got different playlists. I've got the cycling playlist and I've got the recorder playlist where I play Baroque recorder. I haven't done any videos for ages on that channel because I couldn't play the recorder because I was too stressed out with my mum and her dementia. But I actually got back into playing it 2 weeks ago, I think, thereabouts, and made a couple of videos. And I've started recorder lessons again with my brilliant recorder tutor. We go left here to Myton and Helperby and Flowith, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, if you've been watching those videos, which you probably haven't if you're into cycling, you'll know this month, or rather January, was hideous, horrible. My closest friend died suddenly. and it's difficult to get over it. Even shed 1 or 2 tears, or rather more than that, on the way here, believe it or not. Driving along the road to Wetherby, and suddenly it all came in. Whoosh, let's have a bit of a cry. And it's very difficult to think about it, to be honest. It was such a shock. Hello, this is Flowyth. Cycle through here quite a lot. I don't think I've made a video in winter though. My closest friend, her husband passed away of cancer a year ago. Just over a year ago, after a horrible battle with it. Morning. Morning. And the day after his funeral, she began treatment for cancer. Can you believe that? But what she had was the so-called preventative treatment for breast cancer, which is kind of weird because it implies that it's not as serious, and she said, I don't have scans because it's preventative. There hadn't been a lump or anything, just something unusual showed up on the mammograms that we women over 60 have regularly. But having said that, the treatment was pretty horrendous. And if you've known anyone who's been through it, you'll know what I mean. And I don't know how she managed to stick with it and put up with it, especially after just losing her husband. But she was the most amazingly strong person you've ever met. Kind, considerate, just everything that's good. A retired nurse, a volunteer in the first responders ambulance team. Knew where she lived, which she did after she retired. And then in November, she finished the treatment and she was given the all clear, and she rang that bell that they ring to say, Louis, I'm free of cancer. And she said it was really sad because my husband never got to ring that bell, but I have. And of course she wished that he could have rung it. But I met up with her. We always met before Christmas, always, because she lived about 100 miles away from me. So we tended to meet halfway. And before Christmas we had a kind of tradition where we'd meet in this garden centre and look at all the Christmas decorations, have lunch, have a good natter, and a catch up that time on how well she was looking. Her hair had begun to grow back and she'd had it styled, and all the puffiness from the cancer treatments had gone, and she looked amazing, and she was just like her old self. And we had lunch and it had a lovely day. But I could never have known when we said goodbye and exchanged Christmas presents that I would never see her again. She'd been a close friend for 12 or so years. We'd supported each other in the battle to get our teenage children through anorexia nervosa, her daughter, my son. That's how we originally met. And we've been firm friends ever since. And when you've been through something like that, you tend to bypass all the chit chat, shallow stuff, and just get straight in with what matters most, and mental health and how we were both doing, obviously how our children were doing too. So we had that kind of really close relationship. And she was... Hello. Oh. Yeah. Have to pause. Right, we're turning left to... Turning left to Myton. This is a really nice little cut through. It's people don't come down here unless they're cyclists or they live in the village. So it's nice and quiet usually. There's always some horses down here. Except there aren't today. Yeah, let's talk about other things for a bit. My fingers need to warm up though. I think I can get a bit sweaty in here. I don't know. These sailing gloves, yachting gloves, boating gloves, whatever. You always get a bit of wind, don't you, when you're cycling on a really hot day. That's amazingly good when it's really still and hot and you've got a breeze, a gentle breeze. It kind of cools you down a bit, but cold days like today it does the opposite. Back in 13, whenever it was, when Robert the Bruce's army of soldiers came here, with a view, I think, to kidnapping Queen Isabella. So it's Edward I, and that's the guy who was on the historically inaccurate Braveheart movie. Queen Isabella had been in York, but she got swiftly moved to Nottingham, so they didn't manage to catch her, but what they did was kill an awful lot, thousands they say, of Yorkshiremen who weren't really equipped to fight, because many of them were monks and members of the York Minster and the choir and all sorts. I think it's because the main army was fighting elsewhere, I might be wrong. Anyway, they all got a massive kicking, and thousands died when trying to cross the river just down here in this tiny little quiet village. Many thousands apparently drowned in the river, and it ran red with blood, they say. So it was a success for Robert the Bruce, who wasn't a great fan of Edward I, the King of England. Not sure if they made it to York or not. I imagine they did, because York's only just down the road. I went to York a couple of weeks ago with my son. Had a look around the Minster. Oh, it's so cold. It was absolutely icy. The kind of cold that takes you hours to recover from when you get back home. Cold to the bone. But we had a nice day. It's nice to spend time with my son. Oh, we're going to Exmoor together next month. My husband's staying at home cat sitting, but me and my son are going to Exmoor, and I'm going to take him on those walks that I did in November, that I videoed for this channel. Be different seeing them in March, the woodlands that I'm familiar with in autumn. Be interesting. I won't be videoing the walks this time because I'll be chatting with my son, but be interesting to see what it's like, if indeed the weather is okay. We're coming up to Myton on Swale, a tiny little village with a little dead end that takes you down to the river, and the bridge across it, which I think is Victorian. Not sure. It's not the same bridge that was there in the battle, obviously, because that was in the 14th century. We will be going up there afterwards if I just potter around, have a look at the river, see if there's any signs of spring. Got some little crocuses, or are they mini daffodils coming up there and there. We have signs of spring. You just know there'll be a frost, don't you? There always is. Yes, that was the old school, little schoolhouse. You can cut through the Boroughbridge from here on the bike, but some of it is through fields, which will be a bit muddy at this time of year. Also shortens the ride considerably, and I'm doing this ride to test how things are on a bike and my fitness, so I don't really want to cut it short. Old fountain, no, it's an old pump, 1870, village pump. This is where you go to the little bridge across the river. Last time I came here, when I did a video, a couple of years back I think it is now, it was a really warm day. So this is the River Swale, which joins the River Yore / River Ouse. The Swale, of course, comes down from Swaledale, which is north of Wensleydale. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, Swaledale. So here we have the river and the old bridge. And there is a little memorial to the battle just down here. Ooh, nasty, nasty, screechy brakes. Here we are, the memorial. Red blood, white battle. 1319, 5 years after the Battle of Bannockburn. These meadows were the scene of the Battle of Meissen. An inexperienced army of English clergy, farmers and townspeople were defeated by the Scots, who were heading for York. It says the battle site looks much the same in 1319 as it does today. Trees now separate the bridge from where the Scots army were. Some evidence of the medieval ploughlands known as ridge and furrow can still be seen in the ground over there. Seems such a peaceful place now, doesn't it? Scene of so much carnage. (1868). I presume that means that's when the bridge. Supported by the Heritage Lottery Fund. Oops. So here we have the River Swale. What's that pollution floating down? It's not very clear river, is it? So I guess it joins the Ouse, or the River Yore as it probably is when it joins it up over there. Hello. Hello. Right, let's go back. Back. Some say it was 1,000 Yorkshire men killed, others say it was thousands and thousands more than that. There was also, I think it was later, I'll have to check, the Battle of Boroughbridge, where we're going. Hello. Which was also an unpleasant battle, as these things are. Where some duke or something was crossing the bridge and someone stuck a pike, sort of spike, through the slats on the bridge and straight up his, not a nice way to go. Don't know if that's a rumour or true. Oh, my shifters are quite so stiff, but I think that's because they've been sitting around all winter. What I need to do, when I've not got gloves on, which make it worse, more difficult, is do a ride where I go up, down, up, down, up, down with the shifters and get them to loosen up a bit. It's also, of course, down there where it actually does the shifting will be all dusty, probably needs a bit of a clean. I did clean my bike after the last time I went out on it, but covered in dust. This parkland belongs to Myton Hall, which is coming up on the left, and that is where Ken Morrison lived. Posh house, 18th century. Hello. Good morning. We go past the stable block before too long, which is now apartments. Really, really nice looking. Victorian. Look. We go left. Helperby. Helperby, if you remember from my other cycle rides a couple of years back, has that strange Helperby hall with the rather bizarre French nursery rhyme above the entrance. I never found out why. So keep an eye on my battery. I recharged all my batteries because they had lost the batteries for the camera, that is. I need to recharge my own batteries, yeah. No, the batteries for the camera recharged over the winter. No, recently, because they lost charge over the winter, even though they weren't doing anything. That's the old water tower, I guess. It looks like a water tower, doesn't it? For the stable block. Which is coming up on the left. The first building is quite a large house, which I'm guessing, was home for the head gardener, maybe? Head groundsman, or whoever would have been around. It's quite posh, isn't it? Quite big. 1810 it says. And this stable block. Really nice. But it makes lovely apartments. Sorry, I'm still sniffing. It's the cold wind. Shall I go back to talking about my friend? Where were we? We'd met at the beginning of December to celebrate her being given the all clear from her cancer, breast cancer. And I was worried over Christmas because I didn't hear from her, because normally we'd be sending WhatsApp messages with photos. She did send a photo of her Christmas tree, but after that there was nothing. And I sent a message saying, is everything okay? Because I haven't heard from you. I get worried when I don't hear from you, because I know that usually means bad news with her. And another thing that makes me think this is bad news is when she phoned me at New Year. I always know when I haven't heard from her and when she phones me, it's bad news. And it was. She was in hospital in a cancer unit, and not only had the cancer returned suddenly, but it was in her liver and in her spine, just in those weeks, a handful of weeks after being given the all clear. It was back. And so upsetting to hear that, but not as upsetting as it was to hear from her daughters. A few days later, they just messaged me to say their mum had passed away. Just like that. It would almost be a month to the day when we met up to celebrate her being given the all clear. That bastard illness, the cancer, just came back. Whoosh. Something you can't make sense of, because you think, well, it was preventative treatment, you know. I know that's not a medical term as such, but how could they not know how serious it obviously was? And if at the beginning she said she wasn't having scans, is that why they never picked up on it? I don't know. We'll never know. It's normal to try and make sense of these things. And on Tuesday, today's Sunday, but on Tuesday, my husband and me went to her funeral. Oh God, it was awful. It was awful. Awful. Even he cried. I cried non-stop all the way through. Luckily, we were standing hidden at the back, because it was standing room only, because so many people turned up. She was loved by so many people. so many people loved her. And they say it's always the best people that are taken, don't they? Bird flu control zone. I saw that sign when I was driving up. I don't imagine it's that easy to control bird flu, because birds fly, don't they? So they could fly out from that bit where the bird flu is into this bit where it isn't yet. So I've had an awful week. Not as awful as her family, though. I can't imagine. They were so brave. God. I cry at weddings with happiness, and I don't always cry at funerals. I cried at the funeral of another dear friend of mine who was taken with breast cancer in 2012. She was far too young. She was only 56. And she was another beautiful soul. Very dear. And that was another beautiful soul gone. Hello. And between that, there was another beautiful soul who got struck down by breast cancer, who had been instrumental in helping an awful lot of mums and parents like myself struggling to keep their child alive when they've got anorexia nervosa. She helped a hell of a lot of people, and she got taken with breast cancer. Fucking awful disease, excuse my swearing, but I think I justified swearing. This is Helper Bee, which is also known as Brafferton, or Brafferton Helper Bee. Two villages in one, if you like. I'm not sure which is which, but this is the hall coming up on the left, which has a strange French nursery rhyme above the door. See my other videos here on the left here. It's a strange building. This village itself was virtually burnt to the ground in, when was it, 17th century? So a lot of it is a rebuild. Still old, but the old village pump. I assume this house on the right is one that didn't get burnt down. It looks older than the rest. On another video, you'll know we went down to look at the church, which is quite interesting. Not this church is hideous. I think this is the old Methodist church. It's really a hideous building. But the pretty little, down there is the pretty little medieval village church. And there was a plane crash down there. If you look at my older video from a couple of years back, I talk about it. We go left here. We're heading to Boroughbridge, 5 miles. so far, the gloves and everything else, keeping me nice and warm, including these. So maybe they are good. When I put the video up, I'll say whether they were all sweaty inside or not, because nothing worse than that. I had some waterproof cycling gloves, winter waterproof cycling gloves, which were swimming in sweat, so much that when you took them off you couldn't get them back on again. Horrible. Well, fitness wise, I'm still on the big chain rings, which is good. One of the reasons for that, of course, is that the shifter is so stiff that I'm putting off moving up and down. It's okay moving down, it's moving back up again. It doesn't like, because it's probably all clogged up with dust. I must give it all a bit of a wipe. We're about to cross the old railway line. I think it's the old railway line from Knaresborough that joins the East Coast main line over there. You can see, this is the bridge, you can see where the line was, and up there. Check the time for changing the battery, about another 5 minutes. These GoPro batteries and the equivalent made by other people tend to last about an hour before they need changing. If you want to go to Easingwold, and I often do, you would go right here at this junction, where you eventually cross the A19 and head along a series of pretty little lanes towards Easingwold and all the other places in that direction. Can see the White Horse Hill figure over there in the distance, which is where that road takes you. And as we know from other videos of mine, the White Horse Hill figure is not an ancient hill figure. We're about to cross this bridge, I think it's called Thornton Bridge, across the river again. Swale, I think, still. It's another old bridge, although the barrier here obviously isn't old. Thornton Bridge, yes. And we're turning left here to Boroughbridge. Four miles. Hello. Tandem. From Boroughbridge we'll be following the Way of the Roses cycle route back to where we started. Which is one of the easiest parts of the Way of the Roses cycle route, which, as you know, goes from Morecambe in Lancashire all the way to Bridlington in East Yorkshire. Some various sections of it in my Yorkshire cycle rides. This is not the most picturesque part of the ride, so I might cut it out of the video and join you coming into Boroughbridge a little bit further along. Just coming into Boroughbridge. Going over a couple of bridges now. One I think is across the navigation and the other is across the river. Here's the navigation. We've got canal boats and the river just here. We go left into the market square, where we pick up the Way of the Roses route back to Great Ouseburn, where we began. As you can see, I've changed my gloves. Not because I was getting cold in the sailing gloves, but because I wasn't, but I needed to change my camera battery, and the gloves were really sweaty inside, really. So I didn't fancy putting them back on again, and I wouldn't have been able to get them back on if they were. But I don't know if they made my hands swell, because getting these old Tura ones on was really tricky. Anyway, that is the village pump, which back in the day used to be the only water source, or the town pump, should I say. The only water source for Boroughbridge. I've picked up the way of the roses now. We go left here, we just follow the blue signs now. Heading east, of course, on the way of the roses route. The roses, of course, being the red rose of Lancashire and the white rose of Yorkshire. My neck's beginning to ache a bit, my shoulders, because of not using those muscles, I guess, for a few months. I've got, I thought I'd lost it there in the back, very lightweight backpack on, which has a jacket and my various gloves and stuff, and my car keys, which is why I worried I'd lost it there. I've got some paracetamol I can take for my neck ache. I bring everything. Everything but the kitchen sink. This is Aldborough, which was a Roman town. You can go around the old Roman remains. You can tell I haven't been on my bike for a while because I'm actually getting a bit weary, which would be unheard of normally on this route. I know I'm carrying more weight with loads of clothes and a backpack. I've got my winter tyres, of course. And I imagine I'm a bit heavier too. But at least I got out of my bike. I got out of my bike, which is brilliant. Thumbs up. Lots of clapping and cheering. Hello. Well, everything's heavier, isn't it? Even my cycling shoes, which are really boots. Will take a while to get fitness back and get used to the neck position, which will give me some jip at the moment, so I might stop and have paracetamol, but that means taking these gloves off and I'll never get them back on again. But worry not, I have 2 more pairs of gloves in my backpack. Yeah, I think I'll stop and have a cup of tea. I've got a flask with me of tea. This camel pack, you see it? Camel pack flask is brilliant because it fits perfectly into the bottle cage on the bike. I've got 2. Only one today. Oh, I've lost half my paracetamol. Painkillers, cup of tea, different gloves. These are some my husband found. I think they're Sports Direct, but they're actually very comfortable. And they've got a grip. So gloves number 1, the sailing gloves, works very well at keeping the cold out, but they're very sweaty inside. So if you take them off, they're going to be difficult to get back on again, and not very nice. Gloves number 2, the Altura windproof gloves. I got an elasticated wrist and it's virtually impossible to get them on. All I can think of is my hands are swollen up for some reason. I mean, they were dry when I put them on, my hands that is. So now I'm on to the Carrymore Sports Direct ones that we found. So let's see how we get on with those. I've got some extremely wintry padded gloves too, but they're for extremely wintry conditions, but I've got them with me just in case. This is a very easygoing and relatively quiet stretch of road, or I guess you could get some speed up if you are inclined. Are we entering the birds flu zone again? Is that what this is? Yes. There's a little stream on the left. to see a lot of cyclists out and about. More coming up. Hi. Was it really my last but one cycle ride was on Dartmoor? Gosh, did I only do one ride in Yorkshire before the winter? Oh look, the moles are out. Look at them all. Must be really hard work being a mole. That's all you do. Dig in the dark. This is Lower Dunsforth, which is the first of the two Dunsforth villages, the other one being Upper Dunsforth, although I don't think there's a lot of difference in height between them. They're both, it's pretty flat around here. I've been watching the last but one cycle ride I did, the one on Dartmoor, the last day of my Dartmoor holiday in early October. Been watching it bit by bit on my exercise bike. Haven't got to Widdicombe yet on it. I've got to just beyond Bellever. So there's two clapper bridges on it, and the one at Bellever, if that's how Bellever is pronounced, there's only half the clapper bridge, half it's missing. The other one is a post bridge. It shows that my fitness was quite good levels then. May have done two rides since then, I don't know. What I do is I watch, when I'm on the exercise bike, I listen to a Spotify playlist, quite upbeat, about something like 110 revolutions a minute. And turn the sound off on the videos. Which I watch on my computer, which is opposite my exercise bike. And my cycle coach comes up with imaginative programs for the exercise bike so they don't get too boring. They're all different and all aimed at achieving different things. Tell you what, I'm a bit hungry. I only had some muesli. No, I didn't. I had some granola for breakfast, and that's all. You might or might not be wondering, if you've watched my cycle ride videos from last year, how my mum is You know, my mum's got dementia, and you may remember we moved her into care home number 3 at the end of October. Which is a beautiful care home. It costs the same as the others, but it's luxurious, and they've got a fantastic team of staff who I trust absolutely to take care of Mum. Mum has her ups and downs. She went through a good phase over Christmas, but recently she's gone back into a bad phase. And this is kind of weird. My sister understands this because her closest friend died of breast cancer last year. Can you believe it? Both our closest friends died. So she understands the way the mind works in this kind of situation, where when I went to see my mum on Thursday and she was in a bad mood, nothing was right, grumpy, bad-tempered, complaining, selfish, self-centred, you know, and completely away with the fairies. Your mind does some sort of process where it says you get angry and you think, why is it, how is it that people like my mum, who are ill with dementia and are nearly 100 years old, who are paying a fortune in care home fees, and she doesn't want to be alive, she wants to die. That's happening, and yet beautiful people like our friends were snatched away far too young and far too soon by cancer. How is it? And it makes you angry and you want to shout. You should really appreciate the fact that you're still alive and make a, you know, which is a daft thing to say, and of course I didn't say that. And of course it's, yeah, not I vary now between being the perfect daughter for someone with Alzheimer's, saying exactly the right things in exactly the right way, and being all kind and compassionate. I vary between that and feeling freaking angry and furious and just not able to handle it or cope. It sort of depends. And it's the same with my sister. Thankfully, she can visit on the days when I don't feel I can, and I can visit on the days when she doesn't feel she can. Or we've kind of wound back the visiting to just once a week, because Mum doesn't know whether we've been or not. And they're taking very good care of her, despite the fact she's going through a hating it there frame of mind, complaining she hasn't got any friends. She wants to go home, and she has got friends. She's made friends with 2 lovely little old ladies who have also got dementia. But you go through that thought process of thinking it's so unfair. So unfair. Life is unfair. This is Upper Dunsforth, by the way. So I suppose there is a bit of a mini climb up here that I've just done. I should justify calling it Upper Dunsforth. And the next village will be Great Ouseburn, where we started off. Hi there. Trying to see if I can see any more signs of spring. We saw those snowdrops and some daffodil shoots, but nothing along here. It all gets lumpy, all the grass always gets lumpy, doesn't it, in winter? Feedback so far on the Sports Direct carry-all gloves. Yeah, not bad. Index finger's getting a little bit chilly, but apart from that, okay. It's all flooded there. It's usually quite swampy all year round. I think at some point it looks like it's come over the lane. Very flooded. There's a bit of a climb up to the post office, and then it's all downhill back to the car. Here we are. If you keep on going on the Way of the Roses route, you go through York, and then you head towards the Yorkshire Wolds. Stamford Bridge, first of all, scene of another battle. Then you head up through Millington pastures. Hi there. Where I cycle quite a lot. And then Driffield. Past Burton Agnes Hall and to Bridlington. Post office. And then in a minute, we go downhill. So not bad at all for a test ride. Testing my fitness, the winter clothing, the winter tyres and the new left shifter, which is still stiff. Okay, changing down like I just did, it's the shifting up it doesn't really like. I imagine when it's cold too, that adds to the problems. Everything, all the lube gets a bit cold. So we're coming up to where I parked my car, so thank you for watching and thank you for listening to my ramblings, and I'll catch up with you next time.